Our modified Frontier is a practical ship, but with a little creativity, your ship can look like almost anything you want.
I'm gonna make a dick. Is anybody else kind of surprised by Starfield over here? 45-minute gameplay presentation deep dive video just dropped, and about 30 seconds into it, it was kind of looking like No Man's Sky with the rock mining, and I was like, I don't really know if I'm gonna like this one. Then they started showing some of the gunplay, and I was like, okay, maybe I will like this one. I've always kind of been a casual enjoyer of Bethesda games. I've never really beat one or got really deep into the lore, the story. Spent a lot of time in Skyrim messing around. Never beat it though. I might have a little bit of a problem. I think I have a little bit of a unique perspective on Bethesda titles. I'm not the biggest Bethesda fan, but I like messing around in open games that just kind of let me do what I want. And that looks like what Starfield is. It kind of looks like Cyberpunk meets No Man's Sky with some of the combat of Destiny. It looks like they've taken inspiration from a lot of sources. I think this is a very ambitious title. It looks like it's trying to do some of the stuff that other games like Star Citizen are doing. The open world RPG elements, you got space combat, you can build ships, you can do a lot of stuff. Supposedly, you get different planets and gravity, you'll change on other planets, and I think it looks pretty cool, and this gameplay presentation also reminds me of Cyberpunk's gameplay presentation. You know, when Cyberpunk was gearing up to come out, they dropped that 40-minute gameplay reveal where they showed off a bunch of mechanics and systems, and it looked really interesting, and then the game came out, I'd like to give this one a little bit more credibility because they got a lot of developers involved, and they're like doing this whole interview thing, asking people what their favorite part of the game is, how they enjoyed putting these systems together for the game. But nonetheless, if I've learned anything from Cyberpunk, it's that we don't want to put too much stake in a game. I'm not rushing out and pre-ordering this thing. It could be a great game of the year, 10 out of 10, 90s on Metacritic, or it could be the subject of another Krubcat video, but we really won't know till the game comes out, I suppose. Another thing is that I'm not really a fan of space stuff and sci-fi much. If you are, you're probably drooling over this game right now. Oh, look, you can go to Mars too. But I love the idea of just being able to explore these vast open planets, fly into cities, drop onto the loading dock. The cities that they showed off remind me of Cyberpunk in the level of detail, but I don't know if it'll be like Cyberpunk in the level of actual stuff you do within the city. But the visuals are looking pretty good. I think there's a lot of eye candy to look at in this game. Outside of some of the character animations where you're very obviously reminded that it's a Bethesda game, mechanically it looks like they've got a lot of stuff going on here. I like the idea that you can fly into space and not only have these dogfights, but actually board the enemy ships and like raid their ships. I think they mentioned that you can take the ships and capture them for yourself, and the whole ship building thing is just a whole nother level. It looks like they've really evolved what they were building with Fallout 4's creation thing. You can build these ships of all different shapes and sizes, fill them with crew members that you'll meet as you're exploring these planets and taking on missions and stuff. They kind of vaguely show off that Bethesda multi-choice dialogue, and they say that depending on the faction that you pick or whatever, you'll have multiple choice options to deal with certain elements of the game. Like Cyberpunk, we'll have to see how much that actually legitimately plays into the game. You guys remember Fallout 4? That's some really great multi-choice dialogue. They didn't touch on that a whole lot. I like the retro lo-fi aesthetic kind of infused with the space stuff, and the visuals, again, they look pretty good. They don't necessarily look like a common Bethesda title. I think it's a big step up from Fallout 4 in that sense, and I think it's a big step up in the gameplay. That's probably one of the things that actually has me interested is the actual gameplay mechanics. They had one clip where he was flying on a jetpack and dropping down landmines, and of course this is all going to change depending on the gravity of the planet. It looks like you'll have a variety of different weapons and ways to modify those weapons. You'll also be able to modify your ship and what kind of weapons I guess your ship has, and you can use your ship as like a living quarters and you can customize that. Like I said, I'm not the biggest fan of space stuff, but games like Star Citizen really do interest me because I love the concept of taking a ship, making it your own, and then just flying it to all of these undiscovered planets and docking it in a city and meeting other people and bringing on new crew members and going on raids. That stuff really interests me. It looks like Bethesda's taken those gameplay concepts and streamlining them into a single player experience, which is always nice to see considering the huge world of early access multiplayer titles that we live in. Fallout 76. I'm not seeing a load of egregious monetization on this game yet, but again, we'll probably see that when we get closer to release. But this has me interested in it, man. It looks like it has a world filled with detail, just hopefully it's filled with a lot of stuff you can actually interact with and get immersed in. Bethesda hasn't dropped a banger-ass single-player game in a while. I think the last thing they did was Fallout 76, so they've been overdue to drop a banger. They got funding from Microsoft, they got all the money they've made from Fallout 76, 36's monetization over the years. But yeah, this one's been in the oven for a minute, so I'm really interested to see how this one turns out. I feel like it's been a good minute since we've got a good AAA open world expansive game. Like, when's the last time we got one of these? Cyberpunk? And again, see how that one turned out. I mean, this just looks great, man. It looks like it kind of could be what Cyberpunk was supposed to be in a silly way. I know it's not fair to compare those games. They're totally different types of games, but it looks like you got a city that definitely carries from that aesthetic. So I'm interested to see how you explore stuff like that. Also, it's about time that Xbox got itself an exclusive. This isn't coming out on any other consoles, obviously not the Switch because it would fry itself trying to run it. Sony's not getting it, but you can still get it on PC via Steam. That'll probably be what I'll do if the game ends up coming out half decent. But are there any little things that you picked up on? Does the space setting just completely make this null and void for you? I don't know. I'm genuinely kind of interested in it. I've never been the most hardcore fan of Bethesda's narrative-driven games, but again, a lot of the stuff that interests me about Starfield isn't even the narrative, so I guess we'll see how it goes. If you want to hear about narratives that do interest me, you can go check out some of my video game retrospectives. I do have a video coming out on a video game narrative that I really do like. I just can't get around to finishing editing, because I hate editing. But anyways, guys, I'll see you later. It's been T. Just thought this one would be a little fun to talk about.
My cargo hold that I have specifically for sandwiches. I don't want to play the hero, but I want to go out and just start taking sandwiches.